Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 21st, 2021 at approximately 11:06 a.m. PST. Thus far on this little journey, and we are getting close to the end of it, only a few more days. But thus far we have covered the aspects of thought, choice, success, which really cuts down into 4 different days, covering purpose, plans, persistence, and patience. Then we covered creation, foundation, expansion, and community. Today we're covering self-awareness. Now, I've talked a lot about karmic law. Okay, and before I get into that, just a quick little note. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Okay, subscribe to the channel, and remember to hit the alert button to let you know when the next video comes out, because I do try and get these out once a day. Okay, now, I've talked about karmic law. Okay, now karmic law is very simple. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Did we do something odd here? We did. Well, we're going to have to correct that. Anyway, that being said, okay, it is very difficult to follow those laws if you don't have self-awareness. In other words, how do you do unto others as you desire them to do unto you if you don't truly understand, number one, what it is you desire them to do, and number two, how that's going to translate? Okay, that's the biggest issues you have to look at right there. I'm moving something here because it just annoys me that it's in the wrong place. So we're going to have to modify that and put it over here. So at least it's still visible. What we've done, and again, let's see if we can see that. Yeah, there you go. That actually works out quite functional. That's the sign that we were talking about. I have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by September 30th, 2021 at 23:59, which is military time for 1 minute to midnight. Now, if you do not know what you desire, then how are you possibly going to treat people that way? It was stated to me one day by a very wise individual. Okay. And I'm sure they remember exactly who they are because, well, frankly, we gave them a plaque with the same saying on it. To know oneself is to know all. Now, in all fairness, I don't know if they really understood how absolute integral that is in understanding what you're aiming for in life. This individual lived it to the fullest. Okay, and they've done things that were absolutely remarkable in my eyes. But in order to understand how to treat other people, it's absolutely imperative that you understand how you feel when you're treated in a given way. Okay, the important factor is know what you like and what you don't like. If you don't like being treated in a certain way, do not treat other people in that same fashion. Let's face it, it's pretty much common sense, but it seems to be a bit lacking in today's world. Okay, so we are talking about really getting to understand what your goals are, what you find effective for you. Like when I just spotted this little issue here. Okay, I had the sign moved. I had the sign in a certain place, but unfortunately, when I dropped the monitor down where I can actually work with it and can type a little easier, it blocked off the sign. So now I've moved the sign. This is what I'm referring to when I say procrastination does not accomplish a whole lot. What I did there was go, it doesn't fit, so I'm going to change it right now. Now I don't have to change it later. Okay, I do sort of have to figure out exactly what it's going to look like where everything's going to sit. But that's okay, that's my issue. I put that over there just a little. Then it gets it out of my way so I don't have to worry too much about it, but I can still deal with it. And I'm going to just set that there. Yeah, of course, that makes sense. See, the reality is, I'm setting this up because it helps me stay focused on what I desire. Okay. Because I can see it. Now, of course, for me, it shows up backwards. For you, I'm hoping it doesn't. Okay. But it's this $2,000 I'm talking about right here that we talk about when we're talking about what it costs to run your household or your business. Okay. And when you understand that side of it, you've got a goal. I am happy to say, if I didn't say yesterday, I am happy to say that I've already hit that point this year, or this month. Now, I've still got more money coming in before the end of the month. So I'm going to have to take a look at how to push it a little higher and set a reasonable goal that's going to jump rather drastically. And that'll happen in, about a week here. Okay. Now, the important factor here is get to understand you. Are you happy with the way you're feeling? Now, I myself, and this has nothing to do with anybody else, I prefer golf shirts with a pocket. Well, unfortunately, the golf shirts I came across, because I burned through another one, didn't have pockets, so I gotta go looking for those too. But I prefer these over t-shirts. But the trick is, know exactly what you're content with so that you can function properly. Okay. May have been pushing myself too hard, but we'll figure that out as time goes on. In the meantime, when we're talking self-awareness, you have to start looking at the way your mind works. Okay. Actually, in all fairness, it's easier taking a look at the way your house is set up. Is your work area, is your primary work area organized where you are comfortable with it? If the answer is yes, then great, you can move on to the next step. Then you take a look at your appearance. Okay. Because again, if you're not content with what you see in the mirror, it's a good bet other people will have similar problems. Now, I strongly recommend you do things that you're content with, unless, quite frankly, they are against your health or detrimental to your health, or if you're breaking karmic law. Either one, you may require the push of other people. Okay, and the prodding of other people, which is how I got started actually doing these videos at all. Was way back on March 6th of 2021 is when I started doing these videos, and I've managed to get one out most days. Okay, yes, there are some video sections that I've been leaving since I've been letting slide. Got to correct that part. But these are things that I know about me that I'm changing for me. The fact they may benefit other people in the long run is a bonus. And that's something to keep in mind. Karmic law number 1. Be true to yourself first. Meaning, regardless of what it says, okay, if you're not breaking karmic law and you're not breaking the written law, two very big differences. Although the written law all falls under karmic law. The thing with breaking karmic law is it will come back to bite you, because whatever you put out, whatever you put your effort into, that's what you're stacking the deck to bring back to you. Now, ironically enough, it doesn't actually guarantee you'll get all the good things that you're striving to help other people with. But it certainly stacks the deck in your favor. Okay, now the written law, which falls under karmic law number 2. Okay, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. With the added annoyance that if you're breaking the written law, you have human laws to deal with. Personally, I do my best not to break them, simply because I just don't want to do the jail time. Okay, I don't handle vertical bar scenes very well. Never been there this lifetime. Don't intend on going. Last time I spent time in jail would have been, back in about the middle 16. Well, no, I was going to say middle 1600s, which I spent a lot of time in jail, usually breaking in. But, no, my last lifetime in the early 1900s, I spent time in jail. And they decided that was a bad place for me, so they put me in the military. Now, with that in mind, again, this is just another aspect of knowing yourself. You may be one of these people that have flashes of memories that make no sense. Okay? And there's a number of places they can come from. They can come from just your body trying to de-stress itself, trying to work through something while you're trying to sleep, which, by the way, doesn't always work well. Or you may be dealing with past lives. In my case, I can separate the two very well. But the more you know about where you came from, how you got to where you are, the easier it is to cope. Okay, and you're just going to have to sort of take my word for that because I got no proof for you. Only what I've experienced, what I've seen, and what I've helped a lot of people cope with. I had a call the other day from somebody that was trying to cope with having been abducted. Okay, now they knew in their heart they'd been taken, but they couldn't piece together how, why, what, any of that. And apparently they had talked to a number of other people. But when they got to me, they still hadn't gotten answers. I hate that word. They had not received the answers that were clear enough for them. Hence why they came to me. Okay, because I've been dealing with UFOs and alien abductions my entire life. So of course, this person laid out what they had gone through. And it took me maybe 30 seconds to piece it together. I laid out a few things. And okay, lo and behold, the doors open up. She now has this extra piece of what's going on with her. She knows how she is dealing with it. Thereby, they know exactly how to cope with what they're going through. And again, to know oneself is to know all. The more you're aware of yourself, like in my case, I understand what medication works for me and what doesn't, which is a real short list as far as what does. Okay. But the more you understand about your likes, your dislikes, like for instance, a very definitive dislike of mine, I've mentioned it before. It was suggested that I try ice cream and ketchup. Take my word for it if you'd like. If not, you're the one in for the shock. I found it was a really bad combination. Lord knows if somebody offers me that again, I will turn them down flat. Protocol is just not one of my strong suits. So when you're looking at striving to understand your life, remember when we're straightening out your office, you've got to lay it out so you're content with the way it lays out, not the way everybody else thinks it should lay. Okay. Again, the more you understand you, the easier it will be for you to get your life moving in the right direction. Okay. Self-awareness is extremely necessary. Now, once you've got the energy running in the right place, or while you're doing that, don't forget, energy affects your body as well. So does your state of mind. It all works together. And that's the biggest part of the message that I've returned to this world to pass on. And right now, I'm using video. Okay, but the message is simple. Working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And the more you know about what you're content with, the easier it will be for you to modify your life and modify the energy around you so that you're better able to cope with the day-to-day stresses of just being here. Now, I'm not the only person on the planet by any means. And I'm not the only spiritual guide out there. But when you're striving to understand yourself and people are telling you this is the path to go down to get to know you, ask yourself this. Is the person giving you the tools and claiming that they work actually implementing said tools? I can only speak for me. In my case, the tools that I offer you, if they apply to my life, I'm using them. Okay, that's just the way it is. Okay. Where did I put it? Over there. Oh, can't see it anymore. Well, I'm going to have to modify that too. But if you're following a spiritual guide, be it just somebody calling themselves a spiritual guide, a pastor, a leader of a coven, a den mother, a support crew, Okay, any sort of religious leader or spiritual guide, ask if they are following the rules that they are claiming are beneficial to you that you should follow. If they are not, you might want to question who you're following. And again, if you're the one claiming to be a spiritual guide, make certain that the tools you're offering people, if they apply to you, you're utilizing. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I found myself. People have talked to me about being a little more subtle, a little more, shall we say, more, well, what they call it is more politically correct. And, the reality is, I just don't bother taking the time to. I probably could be, but I find it so much easier to just be straightforward and be honest and go, this is what works for me. It may or may not work for you. I don't know. Okay. But if you haven't given these tools a shot, pick up the tools and put them to work. Because the more you figure out what works for you, the easier it's going to be for you to actually move forward. Now, the neat part is, a number of years ago, I was talking to the principal of the school, and they made a comment that absolutely stuck solid and did take on a definitive aspect of the way I look at the world. And what they said, this was an elementary school principal, and what they said was, there are no bad students. There are simply bad teachers. Okay, or in my eyes, they're not so much bad teachers as ineffective. And again, if these people are not accommodating your goals, or if your child is in an elementary school, stay on top of it and make sure what the individual teachers are teaching. Make certain they're following through with them. They're utilizing the same tools. Now, ironically, and that's the wrong word, but intriguingly enough, many teachers are teaching just what they've been taught. They're teaching, this is how we deal with this, and they just don't veer off very much. Now, to me, this is ineffective, but I understand where they run into the snag. And this is why it is very important from a parental standpoint to make certain you're on top of things as well. Okay, but the more you understand about every aspect of you, the more effective you're going to be. Okay, and the reality is, if you know that you're not happy with this way of treatment, like if you do not like being told you must do this, okay, understanding there are limitations here. Okay, if you're running a household and you go, this is the rule, that is not only is it your right, but it's your obligation. Okay, and remember, you cannot make effectively, especially karmically speaking, you cannot make a law inside one building that countermands the laws of the community. Okay, but the lawmaker, the one running the household or running the business, has the right and obligation to lay out the laws that take place inside said building. The people that are either visiting or living there that are not running the place have an obligation to follow said rules to the best of their ability. But I caution you, if the rules that you're putting in place are not universally, if they do not apply to everybody, there will be problems. Okay, and again, when you're putting rules in place, when you're telling people what you're looking for, okay, be absolutely certain that what you're doing is following through with whatever you're telling them they should be doing. Okay, a prime example of I've seen a lot of these pop up, where somebody claims to be a spiritual guide returned from the past. Well, that said, ask yourself this. If they're telling you to give all your material stuff to them, they're not following because material stuff is evil. If they're telling you to do that and they're hanging on to the material stuff, okay, you may be walking down the wrong and ineffective path. Okay. But take a look at what fits. If it doesn't feel right, okay, assuming it is not breaking any laws. In other words, if the law says, a prime example in my eyes, if the law says you have to wear a seatbelt while you're driving, wear the seatbelt while you're driving. Personally, I have my questions about them. I do not argue the fact myself that seatbelts save lives, but I also know that seatbelts have been known to cost lives as well. Not as many by any stretch. Okay. But for me, it boils down to I wear the seatbelt because that's what the law says. Okay. And when it becomes that way inclined, part of the reason I follow the seatbelt law, in simplest terms, is I know I don't like the cost of not following it. Okay. It's that simple. It's got nothing to do with agreeing with it. It has to do with the fact that I don't feel like paying the fine for not doing it. So I just do it. Okay. You know, so as you get to know who you are, like oddly enough, I did go to a hairdresser, okay, a few months back to get my hair clipped, you know. But the reality is, I don't see the point in spending, in getting my hair cut every 2 or 3 weeks. I don't require keeping it short, okay, because simply put, it doesn't matter to me. I don't go anywhere. I stay home. Therefore, if I've got longer hair, whatever. Okay. But find what works for you. Okay. If the more you know about you, whether it's your dress code that you're looking at, whether it's the foods you like to eat, what your pastimes are. Okay, take a look at that, but be prepared to draw boundaries. And this is where a lot of people run into snags. We're taught you have to take the other person's feelings into consideration, which I do agree with. But the thing people keep seeming to forget is you also, far more imperatively, have to take your own feelings into consideration as well. Okay, and in all fairness, if you're not taking your own feelings into consideration, the things that you like, the things that you enjoy, if you don't take those into consideration while you're doing everything else, sooner or later you are going to, in all probability, develop a bit of a bitter streak. Okay, so the more that you understand about the way your life is going, and the more you understand about what you're content with, that jacket will be moved. It belongs up front. And again, so you'll find that out, in all fairness, if I take a moment out, why not? This is one of those funny, no, I'm not going to do that. I was going to. But as soon as I get done this video, I will take the jacket that's hanging on the back of that chair, and I will move it to where it belongs. Because again, this is an issue of it bothers me. Like, I'm not content with it the way it is, so I'm changing things. Okay. But you have to understand what you're content with and what doesn't feel right from your standpoint, and modify that. Okay. That's just the reality behind it. One of the bigger things that you really have to look at is understanding your likes, your dislikes, what motivates you. A lot of the time while I'm doing my writing, because I've got this monitor right here, and I now have the other monitor set up right over here, moved everything around, so I've got the keyboard where it works now. That should help a lot with writing. Okay. And I will get other things moved out of the way as I go along. But the more you understand about what you're content with, and the more you correct the energy running around your workspace or your living space, the easier it's going to be for you to function. Very important you figure that out, because the sooner you do it, the sooner you can make your life a more enjoyable one. And I do caution you, if you're not paying attention to what you're feeling, what you're content with, you will sooner or later develop a bit of anxiety around always putting your life on hold to make sure somebody else is taken care of. Okay. These are just certain aspects that you really have to take a look at. Understand who you are. Okay, what are your goals, and are you actually following through with the boundaries that you're putting up for other people? Now, again, and this is just a real simple issue. If you've got a rule in your house that you don't wear shoes in your house, okay, that's fine. Don't. But when you go to somebody else's house, don't just automatically assume that they let you wear your shoes. Double check with them. This is what's called courtesy, and it's something that is sadly lacking in a lot of people around the world at this point. Okay. In my case, I constantly tell people, don't worry about your shoes. Okay. If you haven't been walking in mud, if you haven't been walking in water, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. From my standpoint, that's just plain and simple. But walking into somebody else's house, I do double check and make sure what the situation is with shoes. Okay, it's just another one of those little simple things. Know what you're content with, what boundaries you're content with. Like in my case, I say don't worry about your shoes. Well, you can bet your bottom dollars. I will walk from outside into my house. I'll wander around in my shoes. Some of you may think that's a little bit bizarre. But, hey, my life, my rules. Your life, your rules. Okay, you just have to realize that when you're dealing with things, you have to realize that people are very much their own individual, and you have to live. You've got to be true to you if you're going to keep the energy in your house running properly. And as you do that, you get more settled with you. You'll be able to reach out and cope with other people a whole lot more readily. Okay. Now, as you well know, because I've mentioned it a lot of times, I do not sit still very well. Okay. I usually have multiple things on the go at the same time. Like right about now, it just dawned on me, I've got some stuff. Once I'm done this video, which we're just winding down, I've got some stuff that has to be taken out to be gotten rid of. So I figure I'm sitting here anyway, might as well get my boots on. Needless to say, I don't always walk around my house with my boots on. Sometimes I take them off. But, that said, I'm going to bring this to a close because I keep these to the half-hour mark. The important factor here is you must come to understand who you are, what you're content with, so that you can alter the energy in your own life and modify it, get it redirected to where you desire it to be, so that you can work with other people. The more comfortable you are at home, the more readily you'll be able to walk out and deal with other people when you have to. Okay. Now that said, I'm going to bring this to a close. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, okay, and remember to hit the alert button so you know when the next one comes out. But remember, if you've got, we'd love to hear your comments. If you've got a topic that you'd like to have me discuss, any field, and I will certainly do my best to get back to you individually. When I get done, that's another one of the things I've got to do today is answer a few emails that people have sent me. Now that said, I will be back again tomorrow at some time. Can't give you a definitive time because I'm still working on trying to get that organized. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.